We're going to have to come up with answers that set politics aside.
Oh,
they don't hear us.
They don't hear us.
They don't hear us.
Telling them, but they ain't listening.
I'm from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and they don't hear us.
We're gonna bring you some stuff that's gonna make you feel better. They don't hear us.
They don't hear us!
Hey, and shout out to the folks who are covering this coalition, because they don't hear us.
What's up?
What's up? My name is Dawn, and guess what? We on They Don't Hear Us.
Hey, I'm Halima Amal L. Found out there's a Channel 10 where They Don't Hear Us is being televised. Check us out.
On the what?
Hey.
Kneecat Network.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Halima, and I'm your guest this evening on They Don't Hear Us. And this evening we have a special guest, Dawn Harrington from Free Hearts. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, Halima.
Hello. Will you please share us a brief description about your organization, Free Hearts?
So Free Hearts is an organization that's led by formerly incarcerated women that provides support, education, advocacy, and organizing families impacted by incarceration. Our ultimate goals are reuniting families and strengthening communities. And so what that looks like, some of the things that we do, because we move a great body of work, but on the support side, we do participatory defense, where we organize families that are facing the criminal legal system at any stage so that our loved ones can save time instead of serving time. We also have the Free Hub, that is basically a participatory defense for people facing the family policing system or the child welfare system. We have direct services that does a large gamut of work, such as rental assistance, all kind of Kroger cards, transportation, reentry, like creating community release plans, literally all kind of work that our direct services team does. In addition to that, we do programs inside of jails and prisons across the state, and also in some juvenile detentions and in some schools as well, working with students whose parents are incarcerated or deported. So yeah, we do a lot when it comes to the support side.
What
you get? Hot dog. You didn't get no hamburger? You just want a hot dog and some chips. What kind of drink is that? An orange drink? Yeah, I think I'm gonna get me one of them. Man, let me can. I want it, man. You gonna get another can? Let me have that one. That's all right. Thank you, though.
Make sure you go right there to that gray bin and get something to drink.
What about
Did you eat? I'm with Free Hearts. I'm the counselor. My name is Ronnie, and I'm out here to help Dawn and Chantel clean up the safe houses. We're going to be opening in a few months, you know?
All right.
So, yeah, we're statewide. We came from Nashville, but we came to Memphis to help out.
I'll hold it for you till we get home, okay? So you won't drop it.
My God, what you think about community events like this right here?
Man, if it was more events like this here, I believe the community and the generation will be a whole lot better. They took a lot of stuff from us, man. Liberty land, the public pools, all that, what the kids have. So this here is just a positive message that's sending out. Yeah.
How long you been in Memphis?
I've been in Memphis all my life.
All your
Born
life.
and raised.
So you seen it ups and downs.
I done seen ups and downs. I done seen them come and go.
So this community right here, I heard it was a community center or something that was.
It was. The community center was right up the street, but they didn't tore it down.
Yes.
I mean,
so what is it for the kids, for the youth to do?
Stay in the house, video game. See, mine, they on YouTube and TikTok.
Right.
I take them to the park every now and then, but it's not like what it used to be. It's not our generation. they'll never know our generation until we bring it back to them.
Right.
Until then, the only thing that they know is video games. YouTube, TikTok, PlayStation 5, stuff on TV, that's it.
So what is it about you and your character that makes you want to still give to these youth and be there for these youth when maybe wasn't nobody there for you? You feel what I'm saying?
Well, my mom, I had my mom, she was a single parent. My daddy, he was on the road a lot and in the military. What my mom and dad instilled in me, I'm instilling it into them. Speak. How you doing? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. This generation now, they don't have that at all. Period. Like I told the man up there at the school, the police, I had to go up there, I had to get on him. I had my belt. He told me he was gonna lock me up if I whoop him. When I get through whooping him, I'll be ready to go. Until then, you ain't talking about nothing. He finna give me 10. I got them 10. When I came out, he called me. Hey man, if it was more daddies like you, it'd be a better place. We don't have no structure no more, man. None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. Thank you so much, my man.
All right.
All right.
Y'all come on.
How y'all doing? Nah, I'm just saying, how y'all doing? I'm just speaking. Can I speak?
You got that camera.
Can I speak though?
Once I get pretty
Okay. Nah, you pretty anyway. They can accept you now. They can accept you when you.
I got to get my hair done.
Oh, okay.
We also help people to start cooperative businesses, cooperative housing. Yeah, those are some of the things on the support. Education, we have like a art therapy for the movement program that we created, a curricula that we do on the inside. We teach parenting classes. We teach grief support, coping strategies for grief, coping kids, cognitive behavior therapy. And we developed a leadership development curricula that folks that are impacted by incarceration, they can go through our program and start off as fellows, and then when they graduate, they become a trainer and train in the next round and the next round as we grow out our statewide infrastructure across the state. On the advocacy side, we basically work to change everything that's holding us back. So we passed community-based alternatives to incarceration for primary caregivers was our first law that we passed in 2019. And then in 2020 and 2022, we passed a couple of laws along with Healthy and Free Tennessee, which were prenatal care for pregnant incarcerated people and ended shackling for pregnant incarcerated people. We've been a part of a few successful litigation, mostly around the criminalization of poverty. So private probation companies that were criminalizing poor people, poor and working class people, sending them back to jail just because they couldn't afford to pay. And other issues related to the criminalization of poverty with bail, with driver's licenses, et cetera, have contributed to litigation that helped to reduce sentences as well. Ran a 37 county ground campaign when slavery was on the ballot to remove slavery as punishment for a crime. We're just basically just getting started. We have a Free the People, Free the Vote campaign, which is our legislative policy agenda that we run every single year. We're up at the legislature, working to pass laws, building in the community, organizing their constituents, building up a groundswell for all of the policies that we're trying to pass.
Hey, good morning. We're here today with the Free Vote Convenient. We're here to stand in solidarity with our sister Dawn here for Tennessee. We are the National Council for Incarcerated, Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, and I'm just so excited and so glad to be here today.
Hey, I'm Dawn Harrington, and I'm the Executive Director of Free Hearts. We're part of this Free the Vote Coalition, and I'm so happy our sisters is here. It's about to go down. We're going to free the vote in Tennessee, around the country, and hey, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Tell me why you here.
I'm here because I came to support my comrades, Don Harrington, Jacola, and Free Hearts, and I came here because they have a free the vote convening, and I have to be present.
Man, thank you.
You're welcome.
And so tell me how you feel like the system has been set up to like hurt you or hold you back.
How much time you have? How much time do you have? One thing that I know for sure is that the system locks up black, brown, and indigenous people more than they lock up anybody for petty crimes, and then they give you a lengthy sentence for something that you could actually be home taking care of your family. When the system lock up black women, aunts, grandmothers, they locking up the entire family. The system is actually running exactly how it was built to run. The system was built to run to keep black people oppressed, and this is what it continues to do every single day.
And ain't it funny how, well, not funny, I use that word funny, but it's really not funny, that even after you've done your time, it still follows you, like it's almost like having a mark on you.
Okay, so I've been having this conversation for the past couple of years, and I just found a few of my comrades that are on board for me to try to figure out how. First of all, I'm a prison abolitionist. I do not think that prisons serve a purpose at all. But in the event that they still continue to have prisons, there's no way that a person should be sentenced to time, have to come out on parole or probation, and pay a fine if their case calls for that. I think that's sentencing me 3 times. And if I can't close all the prisons, I need to come up with a bill, a campaign, a ballot initiative, something that you won't sentence me 3 times. Because that is definitely triple jeopardy.
Thank you so much. Your name again here?
My name is Justine Moore. I am one of the co-founder members of the National Council for Incarcerated Women, Incarcerated Women and Girls. I am founder of Empowerment Before, During, and After, and I'm out of Brooklyn, New York, and glad to be here in Tennessee right now.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
But our core strategy is really organizing to build power, to build statewide power, and that's so that we can have the power that we need to change everything that we're trying to change.
Wow. You are so amazing. You do a lot.
So are you.
And it just comes natural and it just flows. So can you share a bit about your journey to becoming the leader that you are?
All right, so where do I begin? Well, first of all, I'm from Nashville originally. I currently live in Jackson, actually. But I'm originally from Nashville. I'm from 37208, which is the #1 incarcerating zip code for people born between 80 and 86. My mother is also from there. My grandmother, my great-grandparents, all from 37208 as well. And you know, my brother, although I wasn't born in between 80 and 86, I was born right before there in 79. My brother was born within that point. And I guess I'll just start off with, he ended up incarcerated when I was going to MTSU. And that really sent me. Like, it was a lot. And going through that, like, I was, like, my grades plummeted because he and I were so close. It was just a lot going on. And, it took a whole lot that whole time of him being incarcerated. And from that experience, too, I thought that I really knew everything about, the system and being incarcerated and stuff like that. And after I left MTSU, I went on and began working in the music industry. So I went at first as an intern and was working with the artist BG of the Hot Boys. And then I ended up getting hired on. I wasn't even finished with school yet. And I went and got hired on. I was like, forget the rest of school. I'm going to just keep on, working in my field. And one of the times when we were in New York, we went to New York after we had an album about to come out. So, whenever you have an album about to come out, then you have to go to New York as one of the parts of your promotional tour to do the radio, video, the MTV, VH1, all of that stuff. We were only supposed to be there for 18 hours. And the last thing that we did that day, after a whirlwind of a day, the last thing that we did, one of the other artists that was on the label that we were on, Mano, he had this song called High Haters. And he was like, why don't y'all come by Brooklyn to come to one of my shows? And so he just was literally doing a walkthrough, doing his one song and in and out, which was good because we literally were flying back out. Katrina had happened not too long ago, and Rita was coming. And so we were trying to get back to evacuate. And so, but when we came out of the event, it's like Mano and his vehicle pulled out in the SUV, and then when we pulled out, the officers just swarmed around us. A paddy wagon pulled up. They started getting, all these folks to get out the car. Our artists were in the car. Our A&R from Atlantic was in the car. The video commissioner, the product manager, all of us was in our vehicle. So they started getting us out the car one by one. And I was like, I'm the last one because I'm like, I know my rights. I'm like, what's going on? Because they were literally like just patting people down and just throwing them in the paddy wagon. So I'm like, I'm not trying to go. What is going on? Because they still haven't answered our questions. So I was the last person in the vehicle, and they were like, you got to get out. I was like, no, you got to tell me what's going on. And they were like, if you don't get out, we're going to drag you out by your hair. And I was like, let me just go on and get out because everybody is already in the paddy wagon anyway. And so I get in the paddy wagon. They patted me down. I get in the paddy wagon, and I'm headed to we're headed to the jail. We get to the jail. They have us in a long line, and they have us chained together. And the women, they had our purses like connected to us or whatever. And I remember somebody was like, they said they just got to figure out actually first they said, oh, y'all are all here because we found a gun in the vehicle. And so I'm thinking, oh Lord, because I had a gun, but also it was legal here. And I also flew in with it. I declared it at the airport. I showed them that the bullets were separate. I did everything that I was supposed to do, And so I'm like, okay, this is kind of a huge inconvenience, and it's embarrassing because the people at our record label is here and the artists and everything else, but it's something that can be cleared up, I'm thinking. So, So basically, then they ended up throwing us in the holding cells and stuff like that. And I remember I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to like let them know. So when the officers came around, I was like, hey, can I talk to you? So then they brought me out, and then I was like, hey, sorry about this huge inconvenience, but it was my firearm, but no worries because I have all the paperwork. And so if you just let everybody go, I could get them to bring the paperwork up here. We could just get this cleared away like nothing ever happened. And they were like, yeah, that's noble of you to let us know that, but it's not a huge inconvenience because it's illegal here. And they started showing me all this stuff on the camera. And they were petty because they took a picture of me before I knew that. Then they took a picture of me after I knew that it was illegal. And it was like two totally different shots. But anyway, so then they said that was noble, but we still might not let everybody go. They put me back in. But then they had me to come back out eventually. And then they were like, okay, if you write a statement, we'll let everybody else go. You got to stay. So I was like, okay. So long story short, that was a holiday weekend. So for folks that get locked up on the weekend, they know that you're not going to have court until Tuesday. So I'm in the holding cell. The whole time, everybody's like, oh, they're just going to let you go. They're just going to let you go. They're just going to let you go. And ultimately, I get up there on that Tuesday, and the judge somehow looks up in her computer and it was like, you have an address in New Orleans, which I didn't anymore, but I did used to. You have an address in Nashville, which wasn't mine. It was my mom's. and you have an address in Detroit, and none of these are New York, you're a flight risk, no bail, go to Rikers. And I remember at that point, I was like, Rikers, because all I knew about Rikers was not good. It was Tupac, and it was Law and Order, and it wasn't good. And so I was just like, ooh, and no bail. I'm like, this is not what everybody was thinking was going to happen. And so, long story short, it took me like 2 weeks to actually get a bail. I get out on bail. I'm coming back and forth fighting the case. And when I thought that they were going to throw it out, because my lawyer was like, hey, good news. This was like after over a year. They were like, they're going to throw it out and stuff like that. They're going to, well, not throw it out. They said they're going to give you a misdemeanor or probation deal. I was like, run it. You know what I mean? And so I flew out there for that. And I remember he got called out of the room. And then he came back flushed and was like, with a big stack of papers. And I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, this has never happened. He's like freaking out. He's like, they took the deal off the table because of new evidence. I'm like, what new evidence? I mean, it was my statement. I mean, for this whole time, it was like 3-4 things in my case file. So, I mean, it was clear what it was. But basically, long story short, they had an investigation going on the artist that I work for. And they didn't even want him for him. They wanted him for something else, basically trying to get him to tell somebody else or something that he knew nothing about. And anyways, but because of that, the feds had brought a bunch of information to my case, even though my case was a state case, it was cut and dry. But it was my music, his music, our lyrics, and stuff like that. And basically from that, they were like, you know, the deal was off the table. And I was to the point of either I was going to have to go to trial, which in New York, it's a mandatory minimum for if you get caught with a gun, it's a mandatory time for each individual bullet in the gun if you're found guilty at trial. And so that day, the same day that I thought I was coming to sign off on a deal for misdemeanor and probation, I actually ended up signing off on a deal for 2 years and 2 years parole. Well, as soon as I get home, you know, because they let me come home for a month before turning myself in. When I got home, P. Moses, shout out to her, like a lot of people was just like so sad and devastated, but she's a fighter. And she was just like, oh, you let them railroad you. Oh, you let them railroad you. Oh, you let them do this. So I'm like, she's like, you need to go and tell them, you need to give that time back. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like telling my lawyer, I'm like, I'm trying to give this time back or whatever. And he was like, okay, we can try to get you in a diversion. But they were saying that, you know, even though it wasn't nothing violent done with the gun, they said just because it was a gun, it was a violent charge, and they didn't accept me into it, which is almost kind of good because one of the diversions was shock treatment. And it was essentially like a boot camp for 6 months where you have to like get up in the morning and take off running and stuff. You might be able to do it. If you can't get through the 6 months of this boot camp situation, then you have to do your whole time anyway. And I don't know if I would have been able to.
I'm not a runner. I wouldn't have been able to.
They
If I
like
could
get
drink
up
some
and
water.
run for miles. They like people get sick and everything. So they didn't accept me. Probably that might have been a divine intervention on that behalf. But basically all the way up until the day of me coming back and turning myself in, I'm still hearing P. Moses like, you have to try to do something to give that time back. So I'm like, okay. So I'm still asking my lawyer, is there anything else I could do? So the day before, he was like, I mean, this is a long shot, but you can try to tell, you know, your story to the judge, like write her a letter and just ask her to have mercy on you. And so I did. I literally was already in New York because I got a hotel for that weekend. And just because I like to swim, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to just swim and relax, and then I'm going to turn myself in. And but by the pool, I just wrote literally like everything that I had been through. I had just got out of a violent relationship. When I was on campus, I got cut. Like everything that I've been through, I like literally wrote it in there. It was just kind of explaining like I'm not trying to, you know, the reason why I have a gun, you know, why I feel like I have to protect myself, things like that. And so I didn't think it was going to work, to be honest. I remember my best friend, she was like, let's pray that it's going to work. And I was thinking, let's pray for a miracle. And she was praying it down. And I just was like, okay. But I just didn't think it was going to work. So when I left out that morning, I came out with my suitcase. I threw it away in the trash can. I went to the court. And I remember telling myself the first time they call my name, stand up and go up there and stand beside my lawyer. The second time they say my name, turn around, put my hands behind my back, don't cry, just go. And I just kept telling myself that over and over again in my head, over and over again in my head. I just kept telling myself that. So then they call my name, I go up there with my lawyer. Then they told my lawyer and the DA to approach the bench. And so then they came back and they said my name again. So I turned around, put my hands behind my back. They started laughing and they gave me a new court date. So I'm like, what just happened? So when we came out, he was like, this whole thing is just, he was like, I never thought that was going to work, but she has mercy on you. She didn't want me to do no time, but she wanted me to just do a year, no probation, parole, and to do it on Rikers instead of having to go to prison. So ultimately, I left, came back in a month, and that's what I ended up having to do. But so within being incarcerated, like I said, I thought that I knew everything from my situation with my brother. But I think it's a different type of situation as a woman being incarcerated. Mm-hmm. And although I wasn't a mom, my heart really went out to the sisters that was moms that was in there because, you know, just seeing them try to parent from being incarcerated, not knowing where their kids, losing their kids, different things coming up, and they only have a 15-minute phone call or trying to get a phone call from somebody else to try to help with homework, all of the things. It just really hurt my soul. And I remember one of what really happened, like one of our sisters who I hung with the whole time, we had been there for months and we would be at the table together. And she got out on a Friday. And I worked in the clinic at that time. And on that Monday, she was right back. Because you see people coming back when you're in the clinic. But she didn't even remember me. And we had been together for months. She looked like she had been through so much in just a weekend. And I was just over it at that point. I came in from work and I just was journaling. Like, I'm just processing the whole experience of like how much like the system was failing all of us, how much we needed stuff, but not this. And I remember in that journal entry, from that situation, I was like, when I get out, I'm going to start something called Free Hearts.
It was an honor to interview you, Dawn. And I'm here because of you. And so just thank you for this opportunity all around. And thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you so much for having
Free Hearts.